Hey guys, I am Robbi Firestone, professional fine artist for about 30 years, and I am obsessed with NFTs and crypto and the whole DeFi space. Now, look, I am by no means an OG, right? But I am all in invested in crypto, and I'm creating NFT art. Plus, I'm spending about 2 or 3 hours a day learning about the whole DeFi and crypto space. In this video, I'll be speaking with one of my favorite collectors of my personal physical fine artwork, Hugo, who actually has a Robbi room in his house, which cracks me up. My name's Robbi Room. So he has a bunch of my artwork. And Hugo called me last week and was asking me about cryptos and NFT. So I thought I'd record this video for all of you who may be interested in really, really early stages, beginning information about crypto, NFTs, the art world and DeFi space. So Hugo and I are going to discuss the basics of NFTs, crypto for the collector. Upon my urging, he actually bought Bitcoin for the first time last week. So that was super cool and he's excited. So disclaimer, this is not investment advice, okay? Not investment advice. This is a Q&A between a crypto nerd, fine artist, moi, and my amazing established collector of my fine art. And I am by no means an expert in this space. I am no OG. Hey, there's Hugo. Hey, honey. So I'm just doing my intro real quickly. So I'm just saying disclaimer again, by no means am I an expert in this space. So this is not investment advice or anything like that. And what I don't know, if you guys ask me a question in the comments, just write any questions. What I don't know, I will find out. Luckily, I have some really great resources in the space. So if you have questions, put them in the comments. And if this is interesting and value oriented for you, then I'll just keep making these videos as I expand into the crypto world and learn about it, as I connect with my amazing collectors like Hugo, who's on with us now. And if this seems helpful, then I'll keep giving to the community because I receive so much. So don't forget to subscribe to my YouTube channel. And what I'm doing is creators, collectors, crypto, NFT art, and cocktails. Now it's a little early for a cocktail today, so I have my glass of water. Still have to go for my run. But so that's what we're doing: creators, collectors, crypto, and cocktails. All right. So with that, we have Hugo with me. So I'm going to do a gallery view and share. Make sure that I spotlight. Hey, how's it going?
Can you hear me, Robbi?
I can hear you, and I'm going to turn off my alarm so that we don't get disturbed. I'm literally getting a message from a friend of mine who's an actor in Hollywood, who's on The Wire, who's in my crypto club because we're obsessed. Okay, cool. Wants to get some leather, non-crypto question. So, hey, how's it going, Hugo? I'm so glad you're here.
I'm doing well, thanks. It is a little bit of a gloomy day here in Minneapolis, but at least it's not snowing.
You know, it's kind of gloomy here in Santa Fe too. It's strange. It's windy. This is our windiest season, and I still see snow on the mountains, but I have an incredible view. Did I show you? Like right outside there, that's my ski mountain up there. So I can literally in the morning wake up and go, is it a bluebird day or not? So, well, first, Hugo, I just want to thank you for doing this for me because you and I, not even a few days ago, we're on the phone, we're on another Zoom call just talking about crypto. So how has it been for you kind of exploring the space? Have you had any time to play there, or have you just kind of like dumped some money in and ignored it? Where are you?
A little bit of both. I have not. I viewed one of the YouTube channels you suggested, but I didn't get to finish it. It's been kind of hectic around here with my wife in school.
Yeah.
But I have invested. Just putting my toe in right now.
Yeah.
So that I can learn whether it's today or just ongoing conversations, and then via my own research. I'm pretty excited about it.
Well, I'm excited for you because I know you are brilliant. and kind of exploring what's next for you and your beautiful wife. And so definitely keep in touch with me, because what I'm finding is the people who are into the space were so passionate about it. In fact, I have a crypto club meeting later today at my studio, so I'm hoping to squeeze a run in between. But you know, most people out there are like, what are you talking about? And it's just not even a thing, or they think you're kind of crazy, but the rest of us are like having a great time sharing information. So if it really turns you on, maybe you even join a crypto club and share stuff with us, or start one. But okay, so hold on, I got something from my IT guy. Okay, cool. All right, so can I just pepper you with some questions, and let's just have a conversation, because we're both discovering the space. And well, first, let's get some context, if that's cool, because the idea of this particular Zoom is, you know, you're a physical fine art collector. You see the piece behind Hugo right now, and I love it because you told me you have a Robbi room. Which is a huge compliment to me. So first of all, let's start with why you even started collecting physical art in the first place. Like, what is it that turns you on about becoming a real art collector and building a collection?
You know, well, it's a great question. And as I really go back, and I think it's probably been close to 20 years, but I had been asked to do some consulting work with a gentleman who was starting his own water business in Texas, and that was my background. Huh. So on our initial meeting, his wife accompanied him, and she was very engaged in the conversation. But what I learned is that she was a really inspiring artist in Houston and had just won a prestigious Red Bull competition. I guess she had done a logo for them. Cool. So it really intrigued me, because I had, you know, my art has always been, you know, something that my brother would buy from, you know, Z Gallery or stuff like that. Yeah. But really nothing that really was someone that gave a lot of thought in what they were trying to accomplish. So anyway, I went to one of her showings and got to know her, and come to find out, she worked at an art studio that was literally across the street from my house, but I'd never been. Wow. So that really kind of excited me, because they would have what they called every other Saturday, and they would open up the studios to the public. So I really spent a lot of weekends over there, really getting to know her, but then also getting to know other artists. Mm-hmm. So what had happened is, you know, as our friendship grew, I hadn't purchased anything yet. But I finally bought my first piece. And then she had asked if I would consider sponsoring. She was the one artist selected out of Houston to go to an art show in New York City. Oh, wow. So, you know, it was obviously a check that I wrote to her, but in return, I got a pretty good discount on some pretty significant pieces. One of the ones is right behind me. Uh-huh. So these are pretty large pieces, and I've got several throughout my house, but that was kind of the beginning. And so as I, you know, one of the questions you'd ask me about is, you know, how do I select artists? And it's really just about getting to know the artist first before I make the decision to purchase. And I really like to do local, you know, so in Houston, I did a lot of local artists, primarily from that studio that was right across the street from my house. So I probably have 4 different artists that have several pieces in my home. But then I remember meeting you. And if you remember, we were on an airplane and I was trying to think, I know I'd either just gotten married or I was about to get married. But anyway, we had this great connection.
Gotten married, I think.
Yeah. So, but getting to know you and then going out to Santa Fe and spending the weekend and really getting to know you a little bit more kind of, you know, really helped me understand what your motivation was. So the reason why I collect is really it's to understand the artist, what they're trying to accomplish, and also the art itself and how it would fit into my collection. So it's really, it's been a love of mine, and my wife has really embraced it. And, you know, we've got a couple of artists that we follow there still, and we've commissioned a few pieces, you know, something that either I wanted or something that she wanted, and she would give a design idea. And, you know, we've got some mosaics here that an artist in Houston did for us, and kind of custom to the way we wanted it to look in our home. So it's been kind of fun.
I
But
love it. Well, and I know we're going to end up doing a portrait of the two of you at some point in my new style. It's doing so well. So I had a museum guy from Yale come in recently and say, this belongs in our spot. So at some point we'll do that. But I love something in particular that you said that is a segue perfectly to NFTs. And a lot of people don't yet know what NFTs are. We're going to get back to that. Before I forget my thought, because I'm so good at that. What you said was, and I'm honored by what you said. Thank you so much that you believed in me as an artist and that you came to research my work and see what my motivation is. And that it just means a lot to me. And I love you and Mari. So it's just a pleasure to be in your collection. And what you said that really piqued my interest about NFTs specifically and crypto art is the odd thing that's happening now is in the past, you were only able to buy a physical artwork, right? Like this one, there's only one of them. Yes, you can do prints and giclées and that sort of thing, reproductions, but that sort of devalues the artist's brand, right? When we make reproductions,
right.
And that becomes less interesting to the fine art collector that wants the one-off. Well, the thing most folks don't understand is with NFTs, you can have one-offs, right? But the thing I loved is you said you wanted to kind of invest in the artist. You get to know the artist and invest in the artist. And this is the first opportunity in the entire art world where the artist can be invested in directly by the collector. So there's no gallery in between. There's no middle medium that relegates what an artist is worth. It's literally the market itself, just like the stock market determines what the cost of, a stock is, what the price of a stock is. It's literally the NFT market is now driving the value of particular artists, right? Which is pretty extraordinary. And one of the things that I love to tell people is you are directly investing in the artist and the value of the artist, and still receiving, like I give physical artwork away with the NFT. That's kind of the way that I'm designing it. Like I'll offer one of these, so you'll get the digital, but you'll also get the physical on a lot of my offerings. I'm still kind of figuring that out because that's sort of unusual, but I think that's a huge value. But yeah, it's just really, it's really interesting because you can now directly not only support the artist in that way, but we can assign on an NFT, we can assign if you resell it, I can still get 10% or 15% or whatever of the sale, which has never happened before. You may buy that art piece that ends up in your attic forever or on your wall forever and you never resell it. That's fine, but that could also end up being resold 10 times and I never know as the artist.
Right.
And so now that the art can be encrypted on the blockchain, actually there will be a code that follows that piece anywhere it goes in the world. And if anyone resells it, then I still get a 10% royalty on my artwork, which is kind of extraordinary for the artist as an opportunity. So that's a little bit of NFT jive for you since we're learning about the space, right? So, okay, so that's you as an art collector, and I'm certainly glad you're an art collector, especially of mine, and supporting those local artists, which is so wonderful. So what piqued your interest, Hugo, in cryptocurrency and NFTs? What got you judged on that?
Well, it started with a post you had on Instagram, and I wasn't sure exactly what it was. So I remember asking you the question, what exactly is this?
Oh, right.
We set up that quick call that turned into a Zoom call. And as you kind of explained to me what you just explained to everyone else, exactly how it works and the benefit, for you ongoing, it really just piqued my curiosity. Now, the whole cryptocurrency piece was foreign to me. To be honest, and it was funny.
Wow!
You made a comment to me a couple of days ago that people of my generation kind of frown upon it because they don't know what it is. Correct?
Are you older than me?
I think I am, and I'd rather not say.
Oh my gosh, I didn't know that. So to to distinguish, I think I'm Gen X. And so I say most folks who are over Gen X kind of frown upon it because sorry to just sidebar that.
That's okay.
You just, it's those of us who've had, or those boomers and people who are over Gen X who've had success in the traditional stock market are poo-pooing crypto because they had success in the market and they can't really see that there's another way to have success, right? And cryptocurrency market is totally different with decentralization of finance, DeFi. And so Gen X, we seem to be kind of like this bridge space where we're not boomers, but we're not millennials. So we're crypto curious.
Yeah.
And crypto curious. So I thought you were Gen X. So
I'm right on the cusp of Gen X and boomers. So
okay, all right. So we'll call you Gen X anyway. So go ahead. I'm sorry to interrupt you.
Well, it's interesting because, you know, as you told me that the people of my generation might frown upon. So I've asked some of my closest friends, and then also some college classmates their thought, and they pretty much were not really in favor of it because they don't understand it. So I really think, Robbi, it's a little bit of having an open mind and also being able to educate themselves. And it was funny because one of my closest friends made a comment. I asked them, do they have any thought or interest? And one of them said, well, I invested in Bitcoin a while back. I'm just breaking even, blah, blah, blah. It would take a lot of research. Is what he said. It would take a lot of research and I don't have the time to do it. So I think it's an education thing as well.
Yeah, because I can't even imagine if he invested a while ago in Bitcoin, then he is not breaking even and he's making money.
Yeah, I didn't really challenge,
Yeah, don't challenge them. But just to be clear for the viewers, it's like, I mean, I got all in 3 months ago. This is not investment advice from either Hugo or me. This is just two friends chatting, right? But disclaimer. But I mean, I went all in 3 months ago and I've 3x'd already. So if this dude went in a while, and it's never gone down from there. So if this dude went in a while ago, then he would have 5 to 7x'd it probably,
I'm actually heading with these guys out on a trip here shortly.
Oh, that'll be interesting.
I'll dig a little bit more into it, but yeah, so it'll be an education trip as well.
Oh, that's cool. Well, you get to be the first. I mean, one of the interesting things that I find about my art buyers is they're very knowledge oriented, very curious, hungry. I mean, people who generally tend to be in the art world are, unless you're an institutional buyer or just kind of doing it because you learned how to do it. If you're hungry to be involved in the aesthetic world, I think of most of those folks as really smart, curious, hungry, interested people. So, which is why I didn't feel shy about asking you if you would just have kind of an educational conversation with me about how we can just step into the space together and make it work for both the collector and the artist. And, okay, anything else about that, or should I ask you another question?
No, that's great.
Okay, cool. So, and you said you didn't have any chance to check out the resources they sent you, but you will if you feel like it.
No, I will. It's just a matter of time at this point.
Yeah. And, I have a lot of friends who are just dumping money in, again, not investment advice, who are just dumping money in and they don't care to learn anything about it. They just kind of found their favorites like Bitcoin and Ethereum, which are pretty much the solids. And the blockchain itself and Bitcoin as a store of, it's basically digital gold, a store of asset that you don't sell. But a lot of my friends, a couple of the people actually in my crypto club, I'm like, why are they even in the crypto club? Because they're not really interested in learning. And I'm such a freaking nerd. I just want to know everything. So I actually have a culture club of women in my town that I call the pretty nerds because they're all really beautiful, but totally brainiac freaks. All right. So another question. So at this point, knowing that we're both really beginners in this space, I'm a little further ahead than you because I'm just devouring content for 6 months. But what do you know at this point about cryptocurrency and or NFTs in the art world and crypto? Do you know, have you heard anything, any buzz, any thought?
Honestly, Robbi, it's a little bit just kind of what you told me last week and also what we talked about today, exactly how the NFT works, and also just about Bitcoin and the other that kind of do something similar. So I'm just kind of in that novice stage, but I'm also very, very curious. And I was hoping that coming out of this call today, that I would come out a little bit more educated as well. So I'm very excited about it. You know, my wife is a little skeptical because she's just skeptical, but she also picked out a piece from yours that she's insisting that we need to have. I'll let her tell you which one that is. I couldn't tell.
Wait, I think I know which one it is.
You might.
I commented on it and I was like, oh, this belongs with you, my love. Perfect.
Yeah, so really I'm just kind of in that learning stage at this point.
Okay, cool. So all right, so the rundown on NFTs, since we're like super, let me see what my next note is. So I really wanted to do this video because I think if you can explain something, oh good, a payment just came in. We love Stripe. Passive income, woo woo. So to give a little background, so NFT, non-fungible token, basically means, as we talked about on our first call, that you have $1, you can, oh, there's wow, another one. It's a good day. I love that. So an NFT is non-fungible token. What we know is I can take $1, right? And it's fungible because I can trade it for a pair of glasses.
Right.
Well, maybe not one pair of glasses, but $1 for something, right? You can trade it. It's a trade of value. A non-fungible token means basically you can't trade it, that it has to be specifically passed on through like a title in a way. I think one of the best ways that, as an analogy, this is not what it is in definition, this is an analogy. But one of the ideas of non-fungible token for art and for music and for even Jack Dorsey of Twitter sold his first tweet for like millions of dollars, right? I think it was 2.6 million or something. Don't check me on the number. But essentially it's content. It's basically creative content, whether there's been an NFT New York Times article that was put into a PDF and sold for millions of dollars as the first, I think it was the front page of the New York Times that became a picture, and someone purchased that and no one else can ever own that. So essentially the idea of the non-fungible token is that just like a house ownership, for you to actually own it, you have to have the deed, you have to have the title, right? So that's the way it is with art. And the best analogy that I've found, I'm Italian, so I have to talk with my hands. That's why we had to switch from a regular call to Zoom, because I couldn't explain it without doing this.
Right.
So we all know the internet, right? Everybody knows the internet is this intangible, I like to think of it as a spider web that goes into each and every one of our brains, like from our computers into our entire everything, right? So this is the internet, right? The internet is here. The blockchain, which currently is Ethereum and kind of the only operating blockchain from my understanding, and somebody can check me in the comments if I get any of this wrong, then don't yell at me, just tell me, educate me. So here's the internet. The blockchain sits on top of the internet and it's double encrypted. Like supposedly it's unhackable. Like there's a impermeable layer, right, somehow. Whereas hackers used to be able to go on any point on the internet and hack into my information anywhere. The blockchain sits on top and it's unhackable, impermeable. And then, oh, I wore the perfect sweatshirt for this analogy. Okay, so then I think of it as the blocks on the blockchain as almost like Legos. So if you think about, this is the Hugo block. And when Hugo gets involved on the blockchain, he has keys or addresses, just like you have a key to your security box, to your vault. You have a code that goes into your safe. You have a code for your bank account, right? So you have keys which unlock your particular Lego. right? It's just this unit. And then Robbi has this unit and she has her keys. And then Mari has her, and so basically on top of this totally permeable internet is this blockchain with these impermeable blocks or like little Legos of information. And inside each of those blocks, your artwork lives in there. So no one can ever steal your artwork. No one can ever take it. No one can falsify that it's theirs. And one of the reasons this is so important in the art world is if you think about provenance, right? So we hear about Dutch masters being impersonated all the time, forgeries, right? It's really easy to forge an artwork. Actually, I guess it is easy to forge an artwork now. And the only way that provenance is really found is when they x-ray it and they see that there's another Picasso underneath and that the strokes are really his. So it takes these very, very high level experts to determine if a Picasso is a Picasso, if a Rembrandt is a Rembrandt. And sometimes they get it wrong, right? So we know obviously that a lot of artworks were taken during the Holocaust and disappeared into the ethers and then reappear into the art world and are said to be original, but it was just sitting in someone's attic forever. And there's this period of time that it's unaccounted for.
Right.
So that unaccounted for time is when a lot of the forgeries happen. And that sort of thing in the art world is a real barrier to entry for a lot of people and exacerbates the pricing for the democratization of art because, there's all this information and all of this work that has to go into someone deciding if it belongs at Sotheby's or not, right? So essentially what happens now from now on in art is I literally can get a physical stamp that's a holograph and stamp it on the back of that artwork. And that holograph has all the information to enter into my key. I own that until you and Mari as collectors go, Robbi, you know what? We really want to own that artwork. And so for me, I go, oh my gosh, I'm so excited. I love you as collectors. I'm thrilled you'll have another piece. Let me transfer my key, my NFT, my token, as it were, which is part of the jargon. There's a lot of jargon in this world of crypto. So then I basically give you my key in exchange for that money. The Ethereum is how a lot of this is bought, is the currency, the cryptocurrency. Ethereum, it's also the name of the blockchain. ETH is the name of the currency, but we'll go into that later. So essentially, you give me ETH, you give me money, right? And then I give you the key information, or I sell you the token, and then it moves into Mari's account. And I never will own it again. It's all yours. And then if you decide, Mari decides to sell it to Mr. Smith over here, then I'll get a 10% of that sale. And hopefully you two will have made some increase in the value of that artwork because I'm a real artist and, really am passionate about building my value and my brand for my buyers. So for my collectors, my clients, my loved ones who end up with my work. So that is a little bit about just the sort of real beginning stages of how it works. And if anyone is watching this and has a better analogy, can suggest a better way of explaining that, or has any corrections, please put it in the comments below so that we can all get educated together and move forward. So I don't even know why I went into
No, thank you very much. That helps a lot.
Okay, good. So another thing I'd love to just mention, because I mentioned it quickly, is the democratization of the art world, right? So can I talk about that for a second?
Sure.
So I really believe that there are great galleries out there. And there are galleries that I would love to be involved with, but they'd have to bring very high value to me because I really like to touch with my collectors, and I've been creating a business as an artist for a long time. What my background is, when I decided to go full time, and I looked at the fact that most galleries took 50 to 60% of the final sale price, which they need because they have overhead, they have staff, they have they have PR, promotions. So they have a lot of costs and they need that 60%. And I really get that and respect that. But what I decided to do, instead of giving, so they got that 50, 60%, the government gets the next 30%. What's that leave me as an artist? How can I live on that? I can't even buy my supplies with what's left over from a sale. I'm doing this as a hobby. I can't do it as a career if I go with that model. So what I decided to do instead is sell an artwork, and 50 to 60% of that I put into a distinct fund for my own education and PR and marketing. So I decided I would invest in my brain and teach myself how to run a solid business rather than hand it off to someone else to run a business for me and hope and pray that an artwork gets sold and then get mad at my gallery owner because they didn't sell anything, right? I just didn't want that whole dynamic. So that's what I've been able to do, is build my own business. FirestoneArt.com is my website. And I've been able to build that way. Now, there'll come a time when I reach a threshold and, I'm like, yeah, Gagosian calls, they're going to get a lot more money from me than I will just by reaching out directly to collectors. So, but for now, it's created a living that I have a really healthy living and a great relationship with my collectors, which I love. So what happens with NFTs and the blockchain is the democratization of the art world. There's no longer a gallery owner that's telling you, the collector, what you should pay me. Is that piece worth $200 or is it worth $200,000? Or where is it in between? Now, if I'm with a small local gallery, it's going to be on the lower end, which wasn't fiscally responsible to myself, right? So that's why I wasn't interested in that. Versus going with an international gallery that can get 200,000 for that, you better believe I'm gonna be working with that gallery, right? But the problem is, you as the buyer, you have to do what the gallery says, right? And if you want it less expensive, you can't go to the artist if the artist isn't in integrity. If they have an agreement with the gallery, they cannot sell to you as a collector, right? Which is the agreement, and I uphold that 100% as a commitment. It's like a marriage, right? Yep. You don't cheat on each other. You just don't cheat. The artist doesn't cheat on the gallery. The gallery doesn't cheat on the artist. So what happens in the NFT world is now there are these marketplaces. One of them's called Marketplace. There's super rare, there's rareable, there's OpenSeas. There are these different places where you as the art buyer can go and just peruse art offered directly from the artist. They put a price on it, but they auction it as well. So just like a normal auction, you would have an auction price where I say, I'm not going to sell that for less than $200,000. Not going to happen, right? You can bid on it, but it's not going to you unless it's $200,000 or $2,000 or whatever. I can't remember, maybe $2,000 on that. So I'm not going to sell it for that, but we know how auctions work, right? Where we bid up, bid up, bid up. And if it's one of three, because it's a digital asset, and I decided to offer 3 digital versions of this and 1 physical version of this to a different tier of sales, then you can bid it, and you're bidding against everyone in the world. So essentially, if you decide as my collector that that's worth $2,300 and someone else says, oh no, I really want that for $5,500, then the marketplace is speaking and saying, Robbi, this isn't worth $200. This is worth a lot more. So it really supports the artist psychologically. It lets them know where they are in the marketplace, but it also supports the collector not getting, also having a real actual sense of what the artwork is worth. And that is much like the way the stock market is run, right? The market is run by what do I perceive the IPO for Coinbase being worth, which is, I'm super excited about the Coinbase IPO. Anyway, so that's a little bit about the democratization of what I believe is happening in the art world, and it really excites me as an artist. And any questions or thoughts about that, my darling?
No, you know what's interesting is when I first started collecting, the artist that I mentioned earlier, she was pricing her art at price per square inch.
Yeah.
Is that still common?
Yes. It's
Okay.
it's the easiest way for us as
Okay.
artists because it's so hard to value your work. And what happens is I've done a whole series, for example, of these. These are actually plein air landscapes
Hmm.
in pastel paintings that I did in just in my home, right? And I believe I made 8 of them, and that happens to be my favorite one. I think it's the most successful of all of them. It hasn't sold yet. I don't think I even listed. Did I? I don't know if I listed this to sell yet. Anyway, so we as artists kind of have our favorite babies. You know, you
Yeah.
have your favorite kid, and for me, when it's psychologically hard when I have my favorite baby, I kind of want to sell it for more than the others in the series because I have attachment issues
Sure.
with it. Because there's always that inside of the artist's brain that thinks, am I ever going to be able to make something that nice again? Oh God, what if I can't? What if that's the best I can ever do? Which, you know, I've been doing this for a long time. So that's no longer a fear in my head. I know I can produce beautiful work no matter, you know, when. Some of it's going to be stronger than other work, but because it's my work, the only fair way to do it is price it, or well, not the only fair, but a system that really works for artists is to just say, all right, I'm going to figure out my price per square inch. It's going to be a medium space between my best work and my favorite work and my not so favorite work. And I'm just going to sell it at that number. Otherwise, we can get just trapped in a moat of our own mess.
Well,
So,
as a collector, psychologically, it means a lot to get the artist's favorite.
mm,
So that's usually a pretty good hook for me personally.
oh, really?
Oh
Good.
yeah.
No.
But yeah. So if an artist is very passionate about one of their pieces,
Yeah.
and what I did is my brother used to own a salon, and so I bought. So the size of this one here, I don't remember the exact dimensions, it's like 4x6 or something like that, or 3x6.
48
So I
by.
bought 2 of those and I put them in his salon just to kind of get feedback. And
Yeah.
oh boy, it was incredible.
Wow, that's
So
fantastic.
yeah, so one of them was her favorite, and
Uh-huh.
then one of them was my favorite. And I kind of just did a little bit of comparison. She won, obviously. But you know, when I finally bought a house that could, I had the space to put up the pieces. I took him out of his salon, which he wasn't very happy about. But
Yeah.
yeah, so it's always interesting to me. That's why I want to hear the story from the
Mhm.
artist.
Yeah.
So, you know, what is it about that piece, or what is it about you? What's your motivation? Those are always very interesting for me. And I remember
I love that.
when I first bought your first 2 pieces of those 2 gentlemen, I remember calling you and we had a conversation about what was your motivation behind it. So that
Yeah.
told me a lot about you. And so that was kind of one of my moments of how I wanted to get to know you a little bit better. So that's fantastic.
Oh, well, thank you so much for telling me that. I love those pieces. So those 2 pieces that you bought of those 2 guys, they actually are still 2 of my favorites.
Yeah.
And they're just, there's just, sometimes you're just in it. You know, I mean, anyway, not to get further into that, to stay
Sorry.
on topic, but thank you. I mean, that's so valuable to me. And I love this conversation because I think there's probably value for the collector and for the artist in our having this exchange as my beautiful collector and any artist who may be saying, well, how do I get into this crypto world? It's like, what do I do? And the funny thing is there's a lot to it if you are entering in as an artist into the space, because there's a lot of kind of technology that, you know, in terms of wallets and learning basics about Bitcoin and cryptocurrency. And there are kind of wallets that sort of act like a decentralized bank. And then there are exchange wallets that enable, so the bank holds the money, but you got to move the money from the bank into the checking account in order to transfer it to Robbi, right? So there are little idiosyncrasies that I'm still messing around with, and I may trying to find an artist to walk me through that, because I'm having some challenges minting or actually getting my artwork onto the platforms to sell. So it'll be Firestone Art is my handle, like it in there, in that open season, that whole realm. The odd thing for me that I'm still trying to figure out, and how I know it's mostly millennial and not boomers, is the artists who are in the space all have crazy names. Like we all know about Beeple, right? We all know this guy's name, Mark Winkleman, but he goes by Beeple, right? And then all of the artists in the space have kind of a funky, weird little name. And so I just decided to do Firestone Art because that's my branding, that's my website name, that's my last name. It's art, it's established. So I decided to do that. And I'd love to hear from artists in the comments if they know why, in particular, artists are using these handles rather than their actual name. Is there a benefit to do that? So that would be my question to the community, if you guys have any answers to that. So I thought Firestone Art it's who I am. It's close enough to a handle. That's how you find me. Oh, hold on a second. Let me turn off my buzzer. That is a client, but I'll call her later. We were just talking about something that I wanted to bring up for artists, and I forgot what it was. So I'm going to jump ahead, because can you believe we're 40 minutes into this conversation?
I just saw that.
Is that nuts? It's like,
it is. We're
going to have to do this again when I learn more. Okay, so can I offer advice to the collectors of NFTs? So you are an art collector, a fine art, physical art collector, and you'll most likely at some point move into the space of NFTs, right? Because it's the natural progression, and it's also the quickest transfer of value. So you, as an art collector, if you decide, all of a sudden you're tired of that piece behind you, you can then offer that artwork, because you're not going to get tired of my pieces, although you want to resell them for the value as they up level in value. But so you may decide to sell that piece behind you and offer it as an NFT, and you've attached, the holographic stamp is on the back, so your artist doesn't even know you're going to offer it. But when it sells and you offer it on the open market as a secondary market, just like eBay, except it's fine art and higher level, you can offer it out there and also bid it for auction. So if someone wants to buy it, if you put $10,000 on that piece and you bought it for $5,000 and no one bids on it, then okay, whatever. You don't have to sell it. But if someone bids on it for 10 or 12 grand, and you're like, well, I just doubled my money, I'm going to sell it. And so you can. So as the art buyer, you can resell the art as well. And it's just as legit because it's in that blockchain and everyone knows the provenance, that it is an original Robbi Firestone that is then sold. And yes, Hugo and Mari were the purchasers before. There's provenance there. The other huge advantage to fine art collectors is one of the ways that galleries ascertain whether they want to hold an artist in their stable or not is by the collector base. So, for example, I'm in collector William A. Miller collection here in Santa Fe, and he's a world-renowned art collector, right? As soon as I got into his collection, he has 3 of my pieces. So as soon as I got into his collection, suddenly my brand is elevated, which means your artworks are worth more than what you purchased for before. So it's almost, it's pretty cool. And now you may never have known that, like you didn't know that William Miller purchased 3 of my pieces and that your value has gone up, right? You don't know that. But now in the marketplace, you can read it almost like the stock market, where you're all of a sudden, oh, Firestone art, Robbi Firestone, why did her prices just spike? And should I sell some of her artwork now? Do I want a Bentley? Do I want to take Mari on a around the world vacation. Okay, well, maybe I'll sell one of Robbi's pieces now and fund that if I wish. So, or invest in more crypto. So there are a lot of advantages for the collector as well in terms of value proposition.
So I do have a question. I was going to ask this last week when we talked, because I already own work today. Mm-hmm. Can we go back to the pieces I bought, and can you put the seal on those, or how does that work?
No,
or is it just stuff going forward?
I would bet we can. I looked into that. There's a particular company that's doing it, and I don't know the sorry, I keep getting inquiries. It's a good day, evidently. There's a company that I believe creates these holographic that I can purchase and do that. And actually, that's a really great idea for me to literally, because I know who every one of my collectors is. And so I can potentially NFT those as tokens and then send those stamps to you to put on the back. So I'll find out about that. It may take me a bit. I may have to.
I was just curious.
Yeah, it's a really good idea. Because again, that establishes the provenance, right? And for the artists out there, also, if you decide then to resell that artwork, suddenly I get 10%, right? Because
right.
So that's interesting, not only to you as the collector, as knowing the provenance and the value, but also to me as the artist, as a potential passive income stream, which I love. Yay. So let me, I don't even know what they're called, crypto stamps. Does anyone out there listening to this know what it's called? If you do, put it in the comments. And if you know of an easy way or a link that I can learn more about this, put it in the comments for me. Because we're all learning together, right? For sold artwork, pre-NFT. All right, cool. So that's a great question. Thank you, Hugo. I appreciate that. Do you have any other questions?
No, sure don't.
Okay, cool. So my next thing is I thought I would give what I've learned about the space advice to my beautiful collector and all you collectors out there about collecting NFTs and kind of what to watch out for and what to look for and where the value is. Is that okay if I do that? And don't forget, this is going to be, I'll have this recording, Hugo. So if we need to go over this, but I know you're about to take notes, so I'm excited. All right, back to glasses, putting my glasses back on. So, all right, it's so funny. I just recently learned that I'm Italian from my DNA, Swedish and Italian. I always thought I was much more exciting than that, but no, word. But it explains why I can't talk unless I have my arms moving around. Which, and I'm obviously shifting around in my chair constantly. I haven't gone from run yet, so I'm jittery. Okay, number 1. So I came up with 9 points for supporting the collector moving through the NFT world for art. I think it's 9, and maybe a little redundant on some of them because I'm still figuring this out myself. So make sure you're getting value with an established artist. So what this means is there are tons of people who are just jumping into the space to make a buck. And when you're on OpenSeas or Rarible, you're going to see a lot of stuff that looks terrible. And CryptoPunks, which was the first, CryptoKitties and CryptoPunks are super fun to learn about, as are hash masks. So those are the first 3 really big NFT art projects that were like super cool. And they were created by these brilliant people, these total MIT engineers, these finance guys. All these people put this stuff together. It was beautifully elegant creativity. And they made these CryptoPunks, right? Well, if you look at CryptoPunks, they are super pixelated, like when you and I started learning Miss Pac-Man and Atari, right? Remember pixelation on those first games?
Yes.
So CryptoPunks looks like that, right? It's very, very, very simple. And I think it really drew upon nostalgia for those of us who are collectors, because I'm also a collector myself, an art collector. And I think there was something really sexy about the fact that it was drawing upon our nostalgia and this very like childlike, almost cyber folk in a way vibe, where it's super pixelated, but it's this highly engineered project that was extraordinarily intelligent. Like, I can't wait to meet those guys who did that. But because of that very simple folk pixelation, you have people who are jumping into the market producing weird things like that who aren't artists. They're just like producing this crap. Basically, I saw one that was recently, it was a knockoff of CryptoPunks, but it was like an egg, and they were putting hats and shoes and all this stuff on it. That was one, and I was like, oh God, copycat garbage. And then I saw one today that was just, it actually shocked me. I mean, nothing kind of shocks me anymore, but this one was literally a pile of dog stuff mess with a yellow flag that said NFT in it. And it was produced as an NFT. And I'm like, and I think it was like $1,000 or something. And I just urge art collectors, stay the hell away from that garbage, because it's not supporting a creator who's genuinely in it for creating. They're in it to make a fast buck.
Sure.
And so that is not going to rise in value for you as the collector. Okay. So that's my number one, is like, support the artists that you believe in. 2 is find artists who want to be a good investment for you. So people who care, right? Artists who are going to stick around, have longevity. They're going to create and be active as an artist. And they're always going to do their best to drive up the value of your artwork that you've collected from me. I never, ever want to see your collection decrease in value.
Sure.
So not only does that benefit me, but it's an honor. It's an honoring that you would want to have my work. So I would never want to do that. You know what I mean? It's an integrity thing. Number 3, let's look at our time. Okay, so to the collectors again, and we touched on this earlier, Hugo, is this is your opportunity to actually invest in the creator's life. For the first time, you have artists that you've loved who may have 3 jobs trying to keep it together, right? So if you get an NFT of this artist, you're actually putting money directly into their pocket and not into a third party or a medium, or you're helping them continue with a creative life, right? And so there's high moral value in that. So, and also there's monetary value in that, let's think of, an artist we all know, Taylor Swift, right? Whether you know or love her, I love her. I think she's absolutely fabulous and strong, and like this whole amazing little creature. If I had a daughter, I wish it'd be somebody like Taylor Swift. She's so sad, But think about if you were the very first person to buy one of Taylor Swift's albums ever, right? Ever. And knowing, and there was only one of it. Like, you get a CD, and it was Taylor Swift, right? And you get it, and she stamped it, and she's like NFT'd it, and she's like, this is my 18-year-old self selling you this cool music. And then today, she's Taylor Swift, right? That first one-of-a-kind CD would be worth like insane amounts of money, right? So you're investing in the creator, but not only emotionally, but you're also drawing value from that because you believe that they're going to go somewhere, right? It's kind of like you can almost like buy stock in your favorite creators now. Yep. Is kind of the way they're saying it. The infamous they. Okay, number 4. Pride as an early adopter. So for those of you who are the folks who will stand outside the Apple store for 48 hours waiting to get the latest iPhone, it's kind of like that. I mean, NFTs enable people to be the first early adopters. And because there's like no one in this space yet, if you choose a quality artist who's really going to be in the space and nerdy about the space and excited about the space, they are inevitably going to increase their value in the space because there's so few people at this point. It's like Taylor Swift when she was 18 years old, right? Yeah. There just aren't that many people in space who are producing really quality stuff. So I think about, I fell in love with Keb'Mo when I told you this story, when I was in my 20s, and he's one of my my clients now, portrait client, which is fabulous, and become a friend. But also there's just this pride that I have that was my #1 CD for like 20 years. Every morning I drink my coffee and listen to Keb'Mo. And then, 30 years later, I'm doing this portrait, which is amazing. So there's also that like genuine, like, I'm awesome. I was a trend spotter and I knew this great art when I heard it, or saw it. Okay, so this one's really important. Metcalfe's law. So Metcalfe's law, which you'll hear a lot about in cryptocurrency. Metcalfe's law is the law that states that the value of a telecommunications network is proportional to the square of the number of connected users in that system. Okay, so I'm going to say it again. Metcalfe's law states that the value of a telecommunications network is proportional to the square of the number of connected users in the system. So what do I mean by that? I have a cell phone. Nobody else in the world has a cell phone. What's the cell phone for? Nothing. It's useless, right? I have a cell phone and you have a cell phone. It's doubled its value, right? Because we can talk to each other. Yay, I can call you in Minneapolis. We can have these great conversations. So now put 100 cell phones out there. All of a sudden, the network has elevated in its value because now we have 100x the value of those communications, right? So when I talk about Metcalfe's law, so the people in the crypto world, we're all nerdy, geeky, telecommunication. A lot of inquiries today. I'm so excited. This is good. This is going to be a good day. I can get to call everybody back, see what they want. So basically this means that you want to choose an artist who is active in their network, who is actively getting their information out. So not only are you just buying the artwork. So why does an artist go with a great gallery? Because they have massive collectors lists and PR, right? Which reaches out to millions of people, right? If it's, or hundreds of thousands, or, that's why I don't ever go with a gallery who has less than a mailing list than me, because what's the point of that? So Metcalfe's law says that basically the more reach you're doing into the community, the value you're bringing, right? The more collectors who come into the sphere. And NFTs make that possible for not only more people so I've got this very sexy series of digital avatars that I've done that I am, I'm going to probably post as limited edition 1 of 69, 2 of 69. It's very flirty and fun. And so, there's going to be 69 of those. So it'll be less valuable than the 1, but those 69 buyers are now exponentially a part of my network. My Metcalfe's law is building my value within that. So, it's just a real nerdy premise, but it's what got me super excited about this space. Right. And with that, okay, number 7, or this is 6. I think I skipped a number. Buy art that speaks for itself. I'm not a numbers girl. Buy art that speaks for itself. Invest in art you like and love. The reality is a lot of stuff will not go up in value. Most of it won't, like the traditional art world. So make sure that if you buy something, you actually want it. Right? Don't just buy it to have it and stick it in your attic, your computer, and lose it, because then it's no value to you or anybody. It was value to the artist you purchased, so I guess that's good. And the reason I say this is value art you love. I have collectors in Seattle who will remain nameless, but they were novice art collectors in the beginning, and they hired a curator. And they had a lot of money. They were they are incredible people, and they made a lot of money in their business. And so before they had time to learn about art themselves, they hired this curator who bought valuable art for them. So I'm in their house going up to see where they put their 2 portraits in their master suite the portraits that I did of them. And I passed this painting on their wall in their massive staircase, this gargantuan staircase. And it's black and white, and it's a guy running away from the camera, running away from the viewer. And there's a big black spot on his back that looks like he's been shot. All I see is a gunshot wound in the back of this guy's back, and he's kind of stumbling forward. Well, I asked, and it looked like the man who was my friend.
Oh boy.
Getting shot in the back. His physique was the same. I mean, his haircut, like everything, it looked like him. And I was like, so I'm walking up with the wife over past this piece. And I said, I'll give her name, Sandy. Sandy, tell me about this piece. And she said, oh, well, I really don't know anything about it, but the curator bought it because she said that the artist is increasing in value and this is a great space for it. And so I bought it. And it was like $100,000 piece of art. And I said, may I tell you something? And she said, yeah. And I said, that looks to me like your husband getting shot in the back. And it's like, I know it's valuable, but you're passing this every day. How does that, I mean, do you not feel that? And this is a gunshot wound. She turned and she looked, she goes, oh my God, you're right. And I said, did you research the artist? Did you see and she goes, no. So we look it up, and that's exactly what it was. It was this guy getting shot, not her husband, but a guy who looked just like her husband getting shot in the back. And I said, do you really want to pass that energetically on your staircase every single day? So she sold it and bought something she liked better, which I was so happy about. And it was so much better in terms of their space. Right. But the art speaks for itself. Look into the art, feel the art, buy something that turns you on and means something for your life. Don't just buy because the curator tells you that you should own it. I find that crazy. So, okay, last tip. Oh, wait, one more quick one. Buy when NFT gas prices are low. So depending on the usage of the network, and we're 1 minute in, so I've got can I do 4 more minutes?
Sure.
Okay, cool. You're not on a tight out?
Good.
Okay. Thank you. Okay, good. So gas prices. So these transactions that are happening on the blockchain require, it's like the subway, right? Yep. So different people are taking the subway at different times. And I don't know about you, but when I lived in New York for 13 years in the city, I stayed the heck away from rush hour because I didn't want to be dealing with people, right? Running into people and whatever. So I'd go have a cocktail, I'd go hang out with a friend, and then I'd go home to Brooklyn, right? So to avoid all the people. Well, the blockchain kind of operates the same way. If there are tons of people on the blockchain at one time, gas prices or transaction prices are going to be higher, and you're going to spend more money to purchase an artwork. So what you want to do is you want to make sure that you buy NFTs, you buy artwork when the gas prices are low. And there are graphs and ways to figure out in your wallet, it'll tell you how much that is. For me, when I tried to mint my first artwork, it was going to be $250 just to put it on the site. So I waited until midnight that night, and it was $40 or whatever. Okay. Nice. So as a buyer, when you see those transaction prices or what those fuel or gas prices, ETH prices, then just know that that's a variable. And you can choose in there whether you want to buy on a low, well, I don't know if this is a buying thing, but I can choose whether I want to post when it's low, medium, or high fuel efficiency. So it's a weird little thing. It's cool. Last tip, invest in people who are giving back to the community because, again, Metcalfe's law. You want to invest in artists who are creating a network and establishing their own brand and really, really care about that idea of contributing. And it's going to just, if you invest in artists who care, then it's going to be just an exponentiation of users and collectors and the community. And with that, there's a whole different video we can do when I understand it, which is about tokens and community building. So there's actually a way to tokenize one's community, and that's going to be big in the music world. Mm-hmm. So, so we are at just over an hour of our time together. Sure. I can't thank you enough. And it's like crazy. It just flew by, didn't it?
It did. It did.
And I love spending any time I can with you, Hugo. So it's just a joy to see you and to hang out with you and say, give my love to Mari. And so everyone out there, maybe we'll do this again, Hugo, if it felt helpful to you. And then I'm going to call some other people who are much better extroverts that I can interview them. So you guys, anyone watching this out there, subscribe to my channel. I'll be doing more of these. If you have any particular questions, put them in the comments and I'll do my best to address them as I learn and I go on this NFT journey. And Hugo, I'm so grateful for your time because I have been intending to do this creator, collector, crypto art cocktails hour for a while, and you have just christened it with me. So champagne to us. I adore you. Give a big, big smooch to Mari for me, okay?
I will. Thank you so much. Appreciate it.
Bye.
Bye.
See you soon.